Well, let's see, 2008. I guess that would put me at 35.
23? 22 or 23?
2008, I was 28 years old.
Well, in terms of the Republican nomination, wasn't too surprised that John McCain eventually won the nomination. He had tried to go for it, I think, in 2000, if I remember correctly. And so I was pretty familiar with John McCain, known his name for a few decades. Surprised by Obama. I kind of watched his first few months of his campaign, and like with any newcomer onto the stage, it was a little shaky at times and interesting to watch, but I was quite impressed with how he was able to maneuver through the primary season and basically beat Hillary Clinton for the nomination. So I was pretty impressed with that fact.
I was very interested to see what both sides had to bring to the table, especially after 8-year term from President Bush, and to see how they would take his policies and things that were going on and reform them, change them, use them. So it was very interesting to hear the debates and what they were going to run on.
I liked it. He could have gone a couple of different ways. He could have kept the ticket nice and young and very much in that vein of a whole brand new way of looking at government, but I thought it was a wise choice. You have somebody in there that had experience in the Senate, experience working across the aisle, so I like that choice.
I remember not being super thrilled with Biden, but I was just excited for Obama to be president, so I didn't really care.
Oh yeah, I like politics a lot, so I stayed up and I watched the election returns come in, and I think a lot of people, especially my age and older, where the first African American president being elected, that was a huge deal, and I think a lot of people really stayed up to watch and see it firsthand for themselves.
Yeah.
I honestly think that day I had an evening class, so I didn't get home until late, and they were starting to count votes, and you could kind of see where it was going and who was going to win. So I kind of I think I knew before I woke up in the morning that he had won the election just because of what I had seen beforehand. So yeah, I think I was at home.
I voted for him, so I was happy.
I was fine with it. I thought during the debates they both had some good things to say, and I'm one to vote based on what I hear rather than specific political party. I kind of affiliate myself with a more kind of on the fence type of approach, and I don't lean one way or the other. I have different views on different things, and it really just depends on what they talk about, what I think their morals are, and how they're running for office, and how they present themselves, what their character is.
Relieved.
I have some friends and family that were Democrats as well and voted for him, so they were happy. And I, quite honestly, at that point, I didn't really have too many people that were really upset. Even though I had some friends and family that were Republicans, they were impressed with, or maybe impressed is not the right word. They were upbeat about, well, this is a new chapter and let's see how it goes.
I would say they were mixed. Honestly, some were fine with it. Others would have preferred another Republican winning. But that's, again, I think that's why I've kind of leaned the way I do in terms of just hearing everything out. I don't like to I'll listen to other people's opinions, and they're allowed to have their opinions. I don't feel that just picking somebody because they're part of a political party means is the right approach.
The same. Some people were nervous about it, but I think even those people that felt nervous were still kind of it was like an excited nervousness. I think everybody was just happy to have the Bush family gone.
There were a few controversies during the primaries and during the campaign. I know he got a lot of flack initially on with some of his associations with Reverend Jeremiah Wright, if I remember his name. I know there was some relationship or some testiness between him and Hillary Clinton. I know there was some controversy on John McCain's side in terms of some people not fully believing that he was, Christian or from the United States, born in the country. So I do recall some of those controversies during the campaign. Yeah, I do. I think people are going to look back maybe in as little as a decade or two and really look at it as a pivotal point in American politics, in addition to race relations. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it was great to have our first African American president. It definitely put a spotlight on the presidency, and people were very excited about it, as you could tell from the inauguration day and how many people came and everything else. So I think it was very good for our country to experience that, and I was pretty excited to see it happen, honestly.
Yes. I think it was a moment in history that was monumental because we had an African American president, and I think it was like a big moment of where people could like lay down all of their reasons for separation, and people that always voted certain ways for certain things was kind of like, it was almost like people uniting because they all wanted change.
I do. Yeah, I do. I think, at the time I was a subscriber to Time Magazine. I watched the news shows, and I thought they did a pretty good job covering it, being pretty evenly balanced. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that really sticks out was that they were trying to push to keep voting booths open longer because it was kind of beautiful because there were so many people, more so than any election in my life, that turned out to vote because everybody wanted change, that they had lines going out of buildings that were like hours long because people were there to vote for Obama. It was kind of amazing. It was, yeah, and the news portrayed that, and it was really touching.
I think it's almost hard to compare, quite honestly. I think it is, even though it was, 11 years ago? It seems like a lifetime ago in terms of how things are discussed and the conversation you can have across the table. It's hard to describe, but again, I think in a decade or two, maybe even sooner, people are going to look back and say, no, that was probably the right way of at least trying to have a proper intellectual conversation between points of view.
I think it opens the door for a lot of people to run for office. It shows that if you run on the things you believe in, and you're strong about those, and you feel a certain way about those, and your character is one that people trust, then that's something that I think people will vote for. So I think it's good that it happened and that it's opened the doors and possibilities for a lot of different people.
I think people are over it. I'm serious.